When I spoke about these problems individually, I think these are the first things that came to your mind. This is what, so yes, we do have these problems, but these are the ways that we should overcome these problems. And why I pointed it out is that that is very correct, because this exactly is the values of Agile. So when you look at Agile, like when you look at the previous, what was before Agile, like waterfall. Like waterfall was sort of a methodology which was cascading down. You do the requirements, and then you do the designing, then you do the development, and then you go for quality assurance, then you go for deployments, you release. So that was a cascading down structure that we had. So in the current business landscape, the business landscape evolves very fast and it changes very fast. So we don't have time to go through these step one by one. Like if it's a big project requirement, let's say the requirement clarification, requirement stage takes about 1 month, and the designing another month, and then the development, quality assurance, and bug fixing and deployment and everything takes about a year or so. By the time that they are getting the release, their business requirement may no longer be valid or required in their business, or the product idea that they had may no longer be valid in that particular product market. So that was the main problem that was there in the waterfall methodology, and hence came the agile methodology. So one thing that we need to establish is that agile is not a process. Agile is a mindset, which is why in the previous slide I said I pointed out few problems that we have on day-to-day basis, and the first thoughts that might have come into your mind is how we are going to solve this. And that is exactly the mindset of agile. Agile is a mindset, and that is exactly the value of agile as well. So here in Agile, the values of Agile, there are 4 values of Agile. One thing is responding to change over following a plan. Like Agile recognizes that change is inevitable in projects due to evolving customer needs and market shifts. So planning is important, but we need to be very flexible about prioritizing what we need to deliver at this point of time, and we should be able to change our plans accordingly rather than being rigid into an outdated plan. So that is one value that we need to stick to in Agile. And also another value is customer collaboration or contract negotiation. Like we need to make sure that the through continuous engagement with the customers, the product meets the expectations of the customers. When you say expectations of the customers, it doesn't mean the expectations the customer has communicated at one point of time. The expectations and the needs of the customer would evolve over the time. So we need to also be able to continuously engage with these customers, and then understand their evolving needs, and then continuously cater to those needs as they evolve. So it's very important and that we continuously engage with clients and collaborate with those things, rather than sticking to very detailed negotiations in contracts as to this is what we can offer and this is what we can't offer. So there's this particular level of skill and mindset that you should put into your agreements that you put with your clients, rather than how to accommodate agile practice within your agreements. That might be a discussion for a later date. So another value of agile is working software over comprehensive documentation. Yes, documentation is important, but at the same time we need to figure out like what are the most critical things that we need to adhere to. Like for example, there are a few critical documents that are anyway there that we need to figure out. At the same time, how are we going to make sure that we come up with a working solution rather than following a very rigid process? The process would be all fine, the documentations and all the mechanisms that we need to adhere to, everything would be fine, but the solution takes a lot of time, and that is not a path that we want to go in. So how are we going to come up with a workable solution as fast as possible is something that agile values as well. And then individuals and interactions or processes and tools. So it emphasizes that the people and the collaboration between the people drive success. So tools can help, processes can help, but the main factor that's going to drive success would be people. So we need to communicate openly. You need to solve the problems together, and as and when any challenge come, we need to adapt ourselves into that challenge as a team. So this is sort of the heart of agile. And for anyone who is trying to understand what agile is, my advice would be to look at this from a mindset perspective, from a perspective of understanding a mindset rather than understanding a process. Like a lot of people would start to think of agile. When we say agile, a lot of people would start from the point where they think about iterations and sprints, etc., etc. But I think that's not the place where I need to start to understand agile. But what are we going to solve through agile? These are the problems that we are going to solve through agile, and these are the values that we have in agile. So if you have a good grasp about what we are going to solve through agile and what are the values of agile, then I think the agile process that you want to have for yourself, for your product, for your organization, you yourself can come up with the process that you want, such that these values are not compromised. And that is like the heart of agile, or the basics of agile. So when it comes to Fcode Labs, like this is sort of a process that I've curated for our organization, for my operational teams, where we go in iterations, like usually about 2 weeks maximum. And the phases that we identify, or that I identify, that is suitable for our organization. This can vary from organization to organization. For our organizations, we have a brainstorming or planning phase, and then a designing phase, and a development phase, quality assurance phase, and a deployment, and then the feature is delivered, and then we move to the next iteration. And each of these phases, we go in cycles at the same time. These are happening for various cycles in parallel. So in the brainstorming stage, we collaboratively refine requirements and finalize the designs, and we go these iteratively with the clients, so that we can engage the clients as much as possible to the product vision and get their requirements cleared, aligning to their vision and the expectations, so that we don't misalign with anything. So that is why we consider this brainstorming and planning stage as a different stage, because we don't want miscommunications or misalignments, and we want the clients fully engaged throughout these stages for every iteration with us. And when it comes to designing stage, we define the user stories and the acceptance criteria, and we break down the tasks, and we plan the iteration, not the roadmaps, but the iterations. We plan the iterations and we start to execute. In the development stage, we usually focus on implement and code the features, and also we ensure about review cycles. How are we going to do daily reviews, and how are we going to automate the reviews, etc., etc. So it's very important that we get feedback for what we are doing. So hence reviews are important, and if we can't find enough time to do comprehensive reviews, then maybe we should find ways to, or how we can automate these reviews by various tools likewise. And when it comes to quality assurance, we test and validate the product, and before that we do a comprehensive test designing, and whatever we can automate, we automate. Whatever we can't automate, we do manual testing. So we prepare ourselves in advance about what we need to test and then execute. And when it comes to deployments, continuous CI/CD is a must that I follow, and we have automated all the release processes, so that the product releases will be released seamlessly across environments. So to run these iterations and cycles, there's a lot of alignments, there's a lot of things that we need to do technically, and also from each team roles perspective or project personal's perspective. Again, that is also a discussion for another day, and because that of course we are going to go into different route if we are going to discuss in detail about what we are going to do in this each different stage, like the good case practices that we are going to do to make sure that this cycle runs smoothly and this cycle is as efficient as possible. So anyway, coming back to my original point, so the organization, if you can understand the agile values and we make it your mindset, then you can define your way of going forward with these iterations that suits your organization or your team.